I'd done that with my first house. And living with regret for me is like the craziest thing. I'd rather say, you know what, I tried, than say that, oh, I wish I had.
No, there's still a lot. You still want to do a lot in your home, and I'll get to renovations in a moment. But what would you say was your biggest lifestyle shift when purchasing this property?
So the biggest lifestyle shift that I had after purchasing this home was the idea that, I mean, I'd always been someone that considered himself like a plant dad, you know, but it was always like items that I could move around. So it was always like pot plants, or it was like a herb garden that you'd have to pop up on your balcony and you could move it. But walking into a nursery for the first time and saying, I'd like to get a bougainvillea because I'm actually going to plant a tree here. You know, there was a permanence to it and a level of this is it that I don't think I'd felt before. And I mean, that's the pretty beautiful side. The messy dark side is, child, you can budget. You can budget for things. But the one thing that this place has taught me that just the budget sometimes doesn't matter, because prices just fluctuate. Also, like, there's certain things that you just didn't ever think that you'd need to pay for. Like, I didn't know that I had to pay for the water. I didn't know, like, that a pool required 30,000 liters if it was like a 5x3 or something. Pool by, like, which was 1.6 meters deep. I got a measuring tape, child. You know, like, I got a measuring tape. Who thought I'd have a measuring tape? Like, I was your Lana Del Rey damsel in distress kind of mess, you know? I was your arrive on your horse, knight in shining armor, kind of save me. And for the first time in a long time, I had to be the partner that I had spent the last 2-3 years looking for. And I guess that for me has been the biggest lifestyle shift. Like, a lot of the times we fail to notice that we are and can be who we've been looking for.
Let's talk a little bit more about the renovations, and I can't wait to show our viewers your absolutely amazing swimming pool and tell them a little bit more and show them what you did to your home and the revamping and renovations that Siya is busy doing. Siya, tell us a little bit more about the ups and downs of renovating. Was it a good idea? Are you happy that you made this choice?
Girl, so the thing about me was, right, I had seen this modern, clean-cut home that I envisioned for myself. And I'd seen bits and pieces of it from different places because it would resonate with what I liked, you know? Because I'm a loud and flamboyant and boisterous, like, personality. I wanted my home to be calm. You know, I wanted it to be a tranquil space. I wanted to come home and disappear, you know? And so we all have that image of what that looks like or what it can be for yourself, right? And it's different for everybody, right? And that's why I love the word autonomy, you know, the choice. And so when you go through the buying process, you see some homes and you look at them and you're saying, you know what, I can understand why that was a home for someone else, right? And there's some that you're just like, oh my God, I could move into that and live, and that could be home for me. But because I'm a bit of a messy girl, you know, like, in terms of, I want my bathroom to be all black with, let's say, neon blue lights. So I want you to disappear from this tranquil space and go into my restroom and feel like you're in a nightclub, you know? Not everyone's gonna have the same method to the madness, you know? And so that was the one thing that I was like, okay, cool. I'm willing to sacrifice this idea of, let me move into something that's perfect. And I realized that because my taste and because of the what I liked was distinct and it was different, which I think a lot of people's is, I was like, does that and the choice of being able to turn it into that outweigh the drama and the costs and the the constantly spinning, constantly looking around and seeing what is needed next, and does that outweigh the benefit that you will derive to walk into something that you're like, you know what, I wanted that wall white and I painted it white, and then I wanted the signature wall to be pink and I painted it pink, and it turned into something that I could call home, because before that it was simply a house, right? And when I rationalized it and I found that, you know what, I would be happier in a place that maybe it won't be perfect for the next 2-3 years, but when I do get to 30 in the next 2-3 years and I've moved towards something that I look at and I say, this is me, you know, and I did that.
Siya, this is a very important question. I ask it on all of my shows, and it is, what does home mean to you? What is the true meaning of home? What does that mean for you?
Well, I've got it on my passage, actually. I think home is not, as you walk in, it's literally the first thing you see. I think home is not, it's not a physical place, right? I think it's a feeling. So you can have multiple homes, you can have multiple safe spaces. I think if it's a place where you can go to and you can be your true authentic self, and you can be and you can relax, and you don't have to put on like a face, or you don't have to put on a mask, or you don't have to put on like a facade, or you don't have to be anyone else in that environment, and it's filled with an abundance of love, it's not always the healthiest, because I mean, very few things grow in a comfortable space, you know, like diamonds are formed under pressure, like, and so as much as there's beauty to homes, you know, sometimes you need to like toss yourself around and find something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And I think moving into a place that was, I feel horrible for the previous owner, but it was quite dilapidated, you know, but there was a vision, and home for me was not going to be what they had created for themselves. You know, it was going to be what I was going to do.
I love that you said that home is a place where we take off the masks, we off stage, we're not even backstage, we're off stage, and this is a place of freedom for us. And on that topic of freedom, what would you say financial freedom is for Siya?
Oh, wow. Financial freedom. I'll tell you what financial freedom looks like. So I felt it during lockdown. I mean, I'm one of those individuals that believe that financial instruments that have been created by financial services places, like, if you're able to utilize it to your benefit, go for it, right? If you're able to take out maybe a loan that you know that you can turn into more money than how much you'll end up paying off, then I'm like, do it, you know? It's arbitrage, you know? Thrive. But it's utilizing it for your benefit. And I mean, not being ignorant to the idea that South Africa exists in a very difficult place, where financial literacy is not something that is like commonly accessible, or even like gets to the people that actually need it, right? And so it's one of those things where Siya's privileged to have studied finance, and so he understands the idea of like how toxic a liquidity trap or revolving credit can be. But Siya was still the same guy that had a credit card, right? That he at a point in his life had maxed out, you know, because it was more of a, what does the world perceive of me, and it was more of a I want you to think I've got it all, you know, and then you go back into your little hole, and you're the one that has to deal with the, how do I go about paying off this lifestyle that I have created, right? And how do I continuously purport it when it's no longer financially viable, you know? And it's difficult, right? It's difficult conversations to have with yourself. Because does it mean you stop going to restaurants? Does it mean you stop buying the things that you want to? And so it's conversation that people need to have with themselves, you know? Because I think, and I mention it a lot of times to like my friends and stuff, previously disadvantaged like demographic of South Africa was told two things, which sound similar but are quite distinctively different. The one was, you are worthless, right? And the idea of being worthless was something that I could critically engage with because I knew where I found my value, right? And in terms of being, let's say, an aficionado and liking things like art and liking things like fine dining and liking things like museums, for me, I was just like, value for that is fine. The second was, as I mentioned, something that sounded similar but was so different because it was worth less with a hyphen, right? And worth less created a hierarchical system which therefore placed individuals in brackets. And so what that does is it takes it from being value derived internally to how do you play off in society in terms of your counterpart that is of a different race or a different demographic, right? And then when it becomes a situation where now one has to show that they're doing well to exist, right? Or to feel like, okay, cool, although I'm doing well, like, do people know I'm doing well? Because you've created an inferiority complex within people, right? Where individuals are just like, okay, cool, so my worth I derive from what kind of car I drive, what kind of handbag I have, am I wearing red bottoms? And for me, I believe autonomy, yet again, how people choose to spend their money is up to them. And so I think it's so necessary living, right? I want to say live within your means, but it's one of those things that it's tough sometimes, right? It's tough. And so being able to say, okay, cool, this is how much I've got to spend and this is how much I'm willing to sacrifice. Not a lot of people can have that conversation. But when you do decide to be frank and self-awareness, you know, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you decide to see yourself and you say, you know what, I want to sleep peacefully knowing that what I'm spending is mine, I'm like, yes, you know?
Being an actor, I understand the importance of having a role model or a mentor. Would you say that you had a role model throughout your journey?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, like, there's this woman in my life, I don't know, like, she was my first home. I mean, we spoke about homes. I mean, I spent about 9 months in there. She's a rock. She's phenomenal. She's harsh sometimes. She's brutally honest. She's my drive, you know. There's her. And I've got an individual that I also speak to who's more in a startup pushing, and so I see him every 2 weeks, and I use him as a sounding board, and he's phenomenal, you know, and he's worked, and you see it, and there's work ethic and there's drive, you know, and in my mother I see it there, you know, and it's like my mother being able to wake up at 5 o'clock. So like for me, when my body clock is 5, it's not a oh my god, I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. It's like it was the reality in my world, you know, and seeing that strength and that yearning of wanting to triumph over adversity was something that made me feel like if she's able to do it every single.
So Sia, my final question to you is, and you've honestly finally achieved your goal of your dream home, and of course there's many changes you want to make and many things you still want to do. Would you say you have any regrets?
Wow. And I was thinking about this recently, and I moved from central Cape Town, right, to the West Coast. And I mean, during the pandemic, I probably won't feel it because, I mean, where do I have to go? I'm going to be at home anyway. But because this side of the world, it felt like this undiscovered gem for me. And it every single day right now feels like I'm discovering a new restaurant, or I'm discovering a new place, or a new place to shop. And there's so many shopping centers this side, and there's so much space, like going to high school in Atlantic Seaboard was, you realize that, wow, like we've got a lot of one direction roads, and we've got a lot of narrow roads. Then we also have off-street parking, and and I'm like, okay, cool, so what do you want? What works for you? And yet again, it comes back to autonomy. So do I regret moving here? I don't, as yet. Will I regret it in 4 or 5 years? I might, when maybe things go back to whatever normal meant for us before the pandemic, when I need to then trek back and forth, and it's not a 26 Rand Uber from Observatory to Salt River, like land of the gentrification. So it's one of those things, and right now I'm at peace with my decision.
Sia, thank you so much for coming on the First Time Homebuyer Show. You're exactly the definition of driven, motivated, and optimistic. So thank you so much, Sia.
Thank you for having me, Esty. It's been beautiful. The questions are real, and I think for individuals that are transitioning and are moving, since that has been the word of this episode, transition. I really just want to end off and say, you know what, be kind, and I know that things move fast now, but it's okay for you to sometimes stand still and look back and see how far you've come, and in moments when you thought you weren't going to be able to do certain things, and then remember that person, remember where you are now, and then think about the person in the future with regards to saying, they'll look back and say, "Oh, I didn't think that was possible," and it drives you, from a different place. And I hope this episode drives and motivates even one person to do that.
And there you have it. That's all we have for you for this evening show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, comment, pass this video on to all your friends. Siya Ramba is with us right now in the comment section below. So don't be scared to ask those questions, and tune into all our other shows. A gentle reminder, we have Zama every night, every weekday at 7 p.m. with all the technicalities of buying a home, getting home loans, etc. And then we have Mbali every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. for the Farming and Agriculture Podcast. And don't be scared, this weekend we do not leave you alone. Chad is with you with the Home Shopper Show. See you guys next week live at 8 p.m.